Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate you going out of your way to subscribe, comment, like. Those things help me out a lot, so that is much appreciated. Now let's dive into how I rig up a Horny Toad in a Fluke. Now this may be obvious to some of you, and you may have always been rigging it this way and catching fish on it rigged this way, but I wanted to dive into it because I haven't always rigged my bait this way. So we'll start with the Fluke. Now I used to always rig the point coming out what I would consider the top of the bait. Fished with a guy from Carolina, and he had it rigged the other way. So I'm going to show you how he had it rigged. So again, I would call this part the top, this part the bottom. He had it coming out what I would consider the other way. So if you look at that, the point of the hook is coming out where the slot is at. Now, it's a little bit harder to get it to stay there because the bait wants to move and it kind of can mess it up. But I will say this, if you get it right in there perfectly, the action of the bait, not so much like the hooking percentage is better. I really don't ever have trouble hooking fish on a Fluke. I know you can put a treble hook on there and on schooling fish, but this is more of a shallow water, cover-oriented style fishing, not schooling fish. A little bit different, not forward-facing sonar on a jig head or anything like that. This is cover-oriented shallow water fishing. It seems like when you get your hook coming out the slot, you get way more side-to-side action. So you can keep it on a semi-slack line, like all jerkbait fishing. When you're jerking it, you're jerking on that semi-slack line, and it just seems like that bait is going to do a lot more. If you want to just keep it around a piece of cover, maybe it's a shad spawn, maybe it's fish that are, real tight to cover, this is the best way to rig it up. So 15-pound fluorocarbon, a regular gauge 4/0 extra wide gap hook, and then pretty simple bass tackle. A 7-foot medium heavy rod, high-speed reel, 15-pound fluorocarbon, as I already said. And that is it. And when you have the hook coming out this part of the bait, it seems like the action is just way better. If you really want to keep your bait in one spot, that's the way I rig it up. And that's the way I fish a Fluke anytime I'm fishing around shallow cover. Now, a Horny Toad is kind of the same way. And I haven't always rigged it this way, but for the last 10 years I have, and it just seems like this does a whole lot better. So this has the same type deal. I want to say this was designed to keep your hook a perfectly straight keel. Now I rig it the other way on this as well, and I'll show you and explain to you why. So instead of, this is the back and the eyes and all that, I want that on the belly. I want that to become the belly. So I'm going to rig it up same way. This is a 4/0 extra wide gap super line hook. I only fish a super line hook because I throw all my Horny Toads on braid. And if your eye of your hook is not welded shut, I do put an extra knot of braided line, and then there's my main line right there. And then I do an extra knot where there's the little opening on the eye of the hook, so you don't pull that braid out if your hook is not welded. 4/0 extra wide gap super line hook by Gamakatsu, and I am technically rigging this upside down, and I'll explain to you why. So here we go, and the more you do this, the easier this is going to become to just get it perfectly straight. And all right, so now I have the point of the hook in this slot. This is very important because this is not an easy bait to texpose. So I do want to bury that point of that hook back up in there. Now, typically before you catch a fish, what's going to happen is that is going to come out. You're trying to throw this really far. In my other videos, I talk about how long casts are very important with this bait, the type of cover I like to use it in. So that point of that hook's going to come out. But if you still have this, it's not texposed technically right now. It's just kind of sitting on the plastic. It's still extremely weedless. So I like the point of the hook in this little crease. Now, why they have the design on, making it look like this is the top, maybe, but honestly, to me, that does nothing. It's more about having this bait be more efficient fishing it around cover. And lily pads, when you snag a lily pad, I don't care if you have 50-pound braid, extremely hard to pull that off. So you'll have to go in there, get it off, mess up your area. So this is going to keep this bait a little more efficient. 50-pound braid, I'm typically just straight reeling this, maybe pulsing it a little bit, but the action in the, the disturbance on the water through the kicking legs is pretty much enough. So I typically straight reel it on top, because it's a top water, 50-pound braid, and right in that little slot is where the point of the hook comes. Perfect for fishing large areas where you need to cover a lot of water. So that is how I rig a Horny Toad and a Super Fluke. I think I may do it a little different than most guys. Maybe you rig it that way and you know how effective how effective that is rather. So thanks for watching, guys. Try that, and I'll see you on the water.